discuss the core five. Core five, historical overview, the 19th century British literature. So, which is indicating as though mainly famous for the what? Why means the 19th century British literature is famous? Romantic movement, which is given, and was also a witness to major socio-political development like industrialization and technological advancements and large-scale gather mobilization of people from the rural to the urban center. Right. So let's first discuss the first idea that called the 19th century British literature. What is that? If you talk about the 19th century British literature, it was a time, or you can say the 19th century was a time which was considered as a remarkable time, because this was the time when change and innovation, right? Change and innovation happened in a British literature, right? So you can say that remarkable change and innovation that happened in a British literature. And it was, the change and innovation that shaped by significant social, political, and technological development. Right. So social, you understand on the basis of the society, political, we understand how the politics play the part, and technological development that actually influenced the way people lived and thought. Right. So, in that case, you can say social, political, and technological development in the 19th century changed a lot, right? Changed a lot in what? British literature. And because of that, it also influenced to the people's life and people's thought, right? So, the literature of this period, which is called as the 19th century, uh, reflects the dynamic shift in society, remarkable shift in society, including the change from the romantic movement to Victorian realism, right? Victorian realism and beyond, right? So now the question comes out, when we talk about transition from the romantic movement to Victorian realism. Now, what do you mean by that? Um, Romantic movement. Now, romantic movement that started late 18th century, right? Late 18th century to early 19th century. So it spanned till early 19th century. So the romantic movement came out as a reaction against the what? Street rules of reason and logic, right? Why did the romantic movement need at that time? So you can say that what it came out as a reaction. So it means certain action occurred. What kind of action? That called as when you put street rules. Street rules on what? Street rules of region, street rules of logic, understanding that characterized the Enlightenment. Right. So romantic writers focused on what? Romantic writers focused on imagination. Romantic writers focused on what? Emotion. Romantic writers focused on individual experience. Right. And romantic writers believes believes the what? These to be central to understand the world. Right. It means you can say imagination, emotion, and individual experience. So they are highly necessary, or they are considered the center to understand the world. Right or not? So their works often celebrated what? Their works means what? Those of the romantic writers. So their works often celebrated nature and personal freedom and the beauty of life, right? So what are they? Nature. So means when you talk about the celebrated nature, it means they they support the plantation. They also support the afforestation, right? They want to save the nature, right? They want to prevent the industrialization, isn't it? So, and they also want personal freedom. It means one can write what one wants to, right? Which will support the society, or which will, uh, that called as a prosper the society, isn't it? So, personal freedom, and the next one is called as the beauty of life, right? So for the for the sake of life, for how one can live, means full in his life. So at the same time, these romantic writers are also critiquing. Critiquing means criticizing. Criticizing to what? Industrialization. Like we talk about that, they are the romantic writers. So who celebrated nature, it means they criticizing to the industrialization. So they go for the personal freedom and the beauty of life. At the same time, they also criticizing urbanization. Try to understand, right? So means what are the main points that you draw from this particular part? In the romantic movement, we can find out that it started late 18th century to span to early 19th century. We also find out that romantic movement came out because of the what? Street rules of what? Region and logic. We also understand that street rules and means what do we say, that logic that characterize the enlightenment. Enlightenment is called as a happiness or living a sublime. So at the same time, we understand the characteristic of romantic writers are what? That called as a, they believe in emotion, they believe in imagination, they believe in individual experience, and they always keep those of the things as the main part of the world, to understand the world. At the same time, we also find out that they celebrated nature, individual freedom or personal freedom, and the beauty of life. They criticizing to what? That called as industrialization and urbanization. Clear? Next, if we talk about that romantic movement, that late 18th to early 19th century. So during that period, you would find out these romantic writers introduce certain themes, right? Key themes. Key themes means called as main ideas, main themes. Main themes of what? Main themes of romanticism, right? Believe in romantic, or believe in romantic movement, you can say. So, what are those themes? The first thing is called as a love and nature, right? Or love of nature, or love for nature. Sorry, love for nature. Second is called as a focus on individualism. Like I said, no, they focus on nature, they focus on personal freedom. So, and beside that, also they focus on imagination and creativity, right? Imagination and creativity. So, and the fourth one is called as a supernatural and mysterious. The supernatural and the mysterious. Now, if I talk about the first thing for romanticism, it's called as a love for nature. So, in this, we find out that romantic writers believes that what? Nature was pure. Nature was pure, and nature was a source. Nature is a source of what? Source of spiritual rejuvenation. Right. When we say that rejuvenation, it's called as a giving you happiness and inspire you. Inspiration. Got the point? So it means you need to point out about the positivity about the nature, right? So and these romantic writers often wrote about nature's beauty, right? Like you talk about John Keats, William Wordsworth. So what they write about for the side of the nature, and William Black, not William. Okay, so William Black. So they often wrote about what? Its beauty and its ability. Whose ability? Nature's ability to heal and, like I said, rejuvenate the human spirit. Rejuvenate the human spirit, or make the human spirit enchantment or happy. So, for example, if you talk about William Wordsworth's poetry, right? That celebrates what? The connection between humans and nature. His poem lines composed of you can say that few miles above Tintern few miles above Tintern Bay. So that describes how nature brings peace and joy. Peace and joy to what? Peace and joy to human soul. Isn't it? So that is nothing but called as a love for nature. And this is one of the pure example. You can take Tintern Abbey as an example, right? And where you can point out how means the line composed of few miles above Tintern Abbey is the pure example that how romantic writers means show their contribution towards nature. Got the point? Then second theme is called as a focus on individualism. When we talk about focus on, say, individualism, we find out that individualism means what? Personal liberty, personal freedom. So romantics valued personal emotions, right, and individual experiences about what societal norms, isn't it? You live in the society, you follow the principle of society, but at the same time, means as a human being, you have some personal freedom, isn't it? So their works, romantic writers' works, often featured protagonists who, rebelled against the societal expectations, isn't it? Now, look into the kind of a thought where you would find out you live in the society, and as a personal freedom, you have the right to, speak what is going wrong in the society, isn't it? So let's say that the society has decided to, means introduce industrialization, or to introduce one of the company to set up in a particular place. But at the same time, you cut the trees, isn't it? Now, what means as a means personal freedom to you, you have. So you raise the voice, you rebelled. Rebelled means what? That called that you started war. That you don't want that nature to be, means destroyed because of the, means humans benefit, right, or human satisfaction. So that is what it is stated. Means you can say that what romantic writers often feature protagonist. Protagonist means that called a main hero or main character in their writing. So who rebelled? Rebelled means that called who started war or who fight against what a societal expectation, uh, and create nothing but an example or embodying the idea of what the heroic individual, and we call that what, because of that person, means what happened, means the nature gets saved, isn't it? Let's talk about it. We call Raja Rammohn Roy, right, as a hero. Why? Because when the Sati Pratha was going on, he was the person who, means raised the voice against it, isn't it? So you talk about many of the historical figure, isn't it? So you consider Raja Rammohn Roy is nothing but a heroic individual, right? So similar to that, focused on individualism. Third is called as imagination and creativity. Now, focus on individualism, which is indicating to the romantic writers, because they write certain things. In their writing, they present one of the protagonists, main character or main hero, which is called as a heroic individual, and who means fought or who rebelled against the societal expectation. Please to understand. So the contribution towards not that protagonist, but that the romantic writers who wrote it. Got it? So, third is called as imagination and creativity. When we talk about imagination and creativity, we find out that the romantics emphasized what? Creativity and imagination. So, and why they do that? Because it is the pathway, or you can say that they are the pathways to understand the deeper truths about what? Life, right? Deeper truths about life and existence. You talk about S.T. Coleridge. S.T. Coleridge written Kubla Khan, right? So that is a famous example. And in this example, where you will find out it showcases the dreamlike quality of imagination. So one person can imagine it, right? Certain things which is beyond the expectation, right? So therefore, in imagination and creativity, you take the example of H.T. Coleridge's Kubla Khan. Understood? And what imagination and creativity is? It is nothing but the pathways to understand the deeper truths about life. Right. So you need to write very small details, but those are nothing but to the point. Then must hit to the examiner's mind that yeah, examiner's mind that what means when what he has written, he has not elaborate, he has not written in a descriptive manner, but he has written to the point, right? So that's what. Then you talk about the fourth one, which is called as the supernatural and the mysterious. So when we talk about supernatural and the mysterious, you can say many romantic writers, they were attracted by what? The supernatural myths and legends, right? So, and this fascination added a sense of what wonder and cost to their work, right? So people surprise and also people get affected, or you can say that people get influenced to their work. So we can talk about that the rhyme of the ancient mariner, the rhyme of the ancient mariner, which is written by st coleridge. In that case you would find out the rhyme of the ancient mariner is nothing but a mixes supernatural elements, right? Supernatural elements with the moral lessons about respect for nature, right? It means you talk about that albatross is nothing but the bird that comes to the mariner's ship, right? But unnecessary you killed that bird, and what happened to it? Means a kind of a belief comes out because of the killing to that albatross, the bird. So means death, or you can say that mysterious wind. They reach to a kind of a unknown terrain. Unknown terrain means unknown region. So, and all the crew died. Even means the man who killed the albatross means who means hung that albatross on his neck or around his neck and move here and there and tell his story to everyone, right? So because he believes that it is nothing but his curse, right? It is nothing but the curse that affected to him, isn't it? So that is what called as the supernatural and mysterious. Now, what is that supernatural and mysterious? Because they have a kind of a myth, they have a kind of a blind belief that albatross is nothing but uh, bringing the goodness, bringing the nothing but a means blessing to the blessing to the ship, or albatross is nothing but a path or a guide to the ship, but means killing to the albatross, belonging, bringing nothing but the curse and death to all, isn't it? That is what supernatural and mysterious, right? So, and who have done that? So you would find out St. Coleridge, when as a romantic writer, wrote in his poem, isn't it? So therefore, when we talk about romantic writers, so their main themes are nothing but love for nature. So main theme is called the focus on individualism, focus on imagination and creativity, and the supernatural and mysterious, right? And the examples you find out here. I hope you are clear so far. Understood? Now, coming to the couple of means romantic writers and their works, right? If you talk about major romantic writers, so who are the major romantic writers? You talk about William Wordsworth, right? So William Wordsworth, who has written the means you can say that work called as the Prelude, Prelude. So Prelude from the lyrical ballads, right? So and he has written with whom? St. Coleridge, isn't it? So William Wordsworth. Second is called as St. Coleridge, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who has written Kubla Khan, right? You can take the example, the rhyme of the ancient mariner, right? And the third one is called as Lord Byron, right? So Lord Byron means so who has written, you can note down that called as a Don Juan, Tonjuan, Don Juan. So, and you can say also Child Harold's Pilgrimage. Child Harold's Pilgrimage. So, or you talk about P.B. Shelley, Percy Shelley. So, who has written Ode to the West Wind, isn't it? Ode to the West Wind, or you can say that Prometheus Unbound, Prometheus Unbound, another, right? So, and you talk about John Keats, who has written Ode to a Nightingale, isn't it? So, Ode to a Nightingale, or you can say that Ode to a Grecian Orr, Ode to a Grecian Earth, right? These are the points are present in your, you can say that, what is that? In your curriculum, you will find out, right? So these are the means, major writers, major romantic writers. Did you understand that? Right? Can you name them? One? One by one, one by one. Yes. Tell one name. Romantic writer name. William Wordsworth. Second. S.T. College, which is called as Samuel Taylor College. Third. Lord Byron. Next. John Keats. Percy Shelley. Very good. So these are the romantic writers example. Please do remember them. Then hope you are clear about the romantic writers and their contributions, right? So and how they bring enlightenment. So next is called as industrialization and its impact on literature, right? Industrialization and its impact on literature. Right. So obviously, we talk about romantic writers and how they means contribute to the literature. Now we find out industrialization and its impact on literature. So when we talk about the 19th century, it was also marked by the industrial revolution, right? Industrial revolution. So and why? Because it brought significant technological advancement. We have that, no? So technological advancements and societal changes. Britain became a leading industrial power, right? So, and why Britain became the leading industrial power? Because having with the new factories, having with the railways and machine transforming the economy and daily life, right? These are the things. So, what are the things? Factories, railways, machines, and these are the things transforming what? The economy and daily life of the human being. However, contrast is that these changes came at a cost, isn't it? Now, if you have certain kind of a development, so those development obviously means in exchange of certain things, isn't it? Isn't it? So these developments have occurred in place in exchange of certain things, right? And these changes came at a cost as they led to overcrowded what? Cities. Now tell me one thing. Why do people show their interest to flow to cities? Because they want what? Healthcare facility. They find out that good communication, education, right, and other means numerous developments, right? Or not? Urbanization, job security, everything is provided in cities. So that therefore people flow to cities, and when people flow to cities, what happened? You would find out that cities are overcrowded. And what about the villages? You would find out none of means very most of the means young people are absent, right? Even you can find out that people are absent in village areas or rural areas. So and cities are overcrowded. So that is what called as an impact of what? Industrialization. So poor working conditions. Not only means cities are overcrowded, but also conditions in companies. You would find out poor working conditions. So and social inequalities also you would find out, right? So one who works in a higher class, so dominate to the lower class, right? So means, and that is what nothing but called as a kind of a inequality you would find out. So therefore, you would find out effects of industrialization are found. Right. So, what are the effects of industrialization? One is called as urbanization, second is called as class divisions, and third is called as child labor and exploitation, isn't it? So when we talk about, these are nothing but what? These are called as the effects of industrialization. So urbanization, many people moved from rural areas to cities in search of jobs. So the migration created nothing but a densely populated urban migration. So created nothing but a densely populated urban centers like Manchester's, so Manchester and Birmingham, right? Because we are talking about it all started in England, right? So Manchester and Birmingham, where living conditions were often very bad or harsh, right? You would find out if you study the history of means English or called as a history of Britain or called as a England, you would find out that in one room, means somehow called as 5 to 7 people were living, right? So means and there is a queue to go to the toilet, right? So that's what very harsh condition, isn't it? You go to Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, so you would find out that those cities are called as metro cities, but at the same time, means the kind of a living condition is very harsh, right? So here also urbanization leads nothing but what means a migration and also densely populated, and you find out conditions where living conditions were harsh means called as very bad. Understood? So, second is called as a class division. So, when we talk about class divisions, we talk about the gap between rich and poor that also widened, right? So, the working class lived in a what? Poverty. Those people who are working. So, they lived in poverty because they are depend upon the wages. Wages means salary. So, while the industrialist and capitalist amassed wealth, industrialist and capitalist means those who have wealth and those who have the industries or owner of the industries, they are nothing but wealthy, right? So huge wealth they do have, so that is nothing but creating nothing but a differentiation between rich and poor, class division. Third is called as a child labor and exploitation. When we talk about child labor and exploitation, we find out children are employed in factories and mines, right, working long hours under what, under dangerous conditions, right? So I hope you read the kind of a poem called The Bengal Seller, the chimney sweeper, sorry, the chimney sweeper, isn't it? So that is what nothing but a fine example, how the child are or how the, sorry, children are working under the dangerous conditions, isn't it? So you find out that the effects of industrialization depends upon these are the or provided nothing but the three of the things. One is urbanization, second is class division, third is called as means child labor and exploitation. Clear? Right? So that is the reason I give you the mind map. So that when you see those of the mind map, you need to only remember those mind map and you can explain those of the things on your own. So then we talk about what? Reflection in literature. Right. So how we talk about 19th century romantic writers and their contribution and industrialization impact on this 19th century. So effects of industrialization. Then we identify that what how all those things reflect in literature. Right. So when we talk about that, industrialization influenced many writers. Right. So who used their works to criticize, who used their works to what to criticize the dehumanizing effects of factory life. Dehumanizing. Humanity, you understand, kindness. Humanizing is called as a kind of a human living condition. But dehumanizing means what? Now, degrading the human living condition. Degrading. Degrading means what? The lifestyle of the human being is going down, right? So dehumanizing effects of factory life and advocate for social change, right? Now when you find out that how industrialization influenced to means writers, and those writers, how industrialization means influence to writers, because writers found out that urbanization, child labor, exploitation, and also means bias and inequality, all such kind of things are there, and the condition of the life of human being going down, degrade. So therefore, what they have done, they started advocating, right? They started advocating advocating for social change, and also they started uh, means criticizing the industrialization, or you can say that criticize the dehumanizing effects of what factory life, right, of means of 19th century people. So you can talk about certain writers are there. One is called as Charles Dickens. So in hard times. So Charles Dickens in hard times. So what Dickens portrays or shows the grim realities. So the grim realities of what industrial towns. If you have read the Charles Dickens Hard Times, you would find out that how beautifully the author narrates or describes the industrial towns, highlighting nothing but the exploitation of workers, right? And the loss of humanity in a mechanized world, right? So even if you suffer from means any kind of a disease, doesn't matter. You work under that means under that pressure also, right? So that's what is nothing but called as an example how industrialization affects, right? So second is called as beside Dickens, you also find out Elizabeth Gaskell, right? Elizabeth Gaskell. So if you find out that her novel, which is called as Mary Barton, focuses on the struggles of the working class and the tension between what workers and employees, right? Sorry, workers and employers, or you can say employees and employers, isn't it? So these two writers writing clearly indicating that what how industrialization influenced many writers, right, to write or to advocate for social reform and also means criticizing to the dehumanizing effects of factory life, right? So that's what you can point out. Then we talk about what means Victorian literature, right? Victorian literature that again indicating to the 1837 to 1901. So the Victorian era that named after whom? Victorian era that named after whom? Queen Victoria, isn't it? So, and it was a time of significant cultural and moral shifts, right? So, cultural and moral shifts. Victorian literature reflected what? Reflected the complexities of this period, right? So, and mixing nothing but a realism, mixing with what? Realism and with a strong sense of morality and social consciousness. Right. So, if you talk about that characteristics of Victorian literature, you would find out realism is there, right? Realism. So, what is realism? You can say that what Victorian writers focused on realistic portrayals of life. Realistic portrayals of life. Because realism means what? Ism means belief. Real is called as a fact. Real is called as a fact. So in that case, Victorian writers, because did you understand that how it all started? You talk about Victorian era. Victorian era is named after Queen Victoria, right? So, and when we talk about Victorian era, so we talk about Victorian literature. And when we talk about Victorian literature, this is the period where we find out the characteristics like realism, moral lessons, and exploration of social issues, right? And serialized novels, isn't it? Serialized novels. Now, when we talk about the realism, we find out that it often addresses social issues like you can say poverty, you can also say gender biased or gender inequality, and class struggles. And class struggles, right? So, those are nothing but coming under realism. Am I clear? So because you are doing what? You are doing nothing but means portray a realistic portrayal of life, right? So the second one which we talk about is called the moral lessons. And when we talk about moral lessons, many Victorian works had an underlying moral message. Underlying means called as weakening moral messages or message that emphasizes, or you can say emphasizing virtues, right? Virtues, you understand that called as qualities, emphasizing qualities like honesty, perseverance, and compassion. So Honesty, right? Perseverance is called the determination to do something until you get it. And the another one is called the compassion, that called the kindness towards others, right? Or show mercy, isn't it? So those are the moral lessons you can find out, means which emphasizes. You want to ask? So did you understand? So one is called as a realism, second one is called as a moral lessons. The third one is called as a exploration of social issues. Exploration of social issues. Like you can say, writers highlighted the challenges, right? So because you are talking about Victorian era, and in this Victorian era, Victorian literature, in which means you would find out means how the writers means present the characteristic of Victorian literature. So exploration of social ideas or issues is also one. Writers highlighted the challenges that are faced by women, that are faced by the poor, that are also, you can say, that other marginalized groups advocating for reform and progress. So three are there. So three class people are there: women, poor, and marginalized groups, right? Marginalized groups. So writers highlighted nothing but the challenges faced by women, poor, and other marginalized groups. So which is coming under social issues, right? So fourth one is called as a serialized novels. So many novels were published during this era, or yeah. So many novels were published in serialized forms in magazines, making literature more accessible to a wider audience. Right? Novels do not mean like they write the books, right? But how it reaches to the numerous people? It reaches to the numerous people in the form of magazines, right? Where people read, right? So and these are nothing but the characteristics. Understood? Now, coming to the next one, it's called writers. Right. Many Victorian writers and their works. Can you think of some of the Victorian era writers? You start with the thinking of Charles Dickens, right? So, means Charles Dickens, whose writings are, you can say, Oliver Twist, Great Expectations, Great Expectations, and A Tale of Two Cities, right? So Dickens explored what through these works. The Dickens explored themes of poverty, right? So injustice and redemption. Like if you read Oliver Twist, you would find out how the protagonist lives in the poverty, right? So if you talk about Great Expectations, you find out nothing but the injustice, right? And when you talk about A Tale of Two Cities, you would find out redemption, right? So in that case, Charles Dickens' works are based on what? These are the three main themes: poverty, injustice, and you can say redemption, right? So the second one is called as Charlotte Bronte. Charlotte Bronte. So, and when we talk about Charlotte Bronte, the best one you would find out is called as a Jane Eyre. Janeeyre. Jane Eyre. So, and then why Jane Eyre? Because you are talking about a woman, gender, right? You talk about name, it means it reflects to woman. It reflects to woman means it reflects to gender. And you find out gender issue, gender inequality, isn't it? So here it is stated that this novel, Charlotte Bronte, Jane Eyre, means examines nothing but the gender roles and you can say the struggle for independence, isn't it? Now, third one is called Emily Bront, Emi Ly, right? So Bronte, Emily Bront, and you would find out it's called as Wuthering Height, right? Wuthering, Wuthering Heights, Heights. So, and this particular book is nothing but indicating about passion, a tale of passion. You can say that what perseverance comes here, a tale of passion and revenge set against the backdrops of the Moors, MOORS, Moors. So that is what you simply can write, that a tale of passion and revenge, isn't it? So then fourth one is called as George Eliot. George, George Eliot, Eliot. So George Eliot, and also you can call him as a Mary Ann Evans, right? So and her writing book is called as a Middlemarch, right? And what is that? Now, Middlemarch is nothing but a realistic portrayal of a means of life in a small English town. So, focusing on what? Social and moral confusion or dilemmas. Social and moral dilemmas. So, and the fifth one is known as Thomas Hardy. Right. So, Thomas Hardy, and you find out the best book is called as a Test of the D'Urbervilles. Test of the D'Urbervilles. TESS, Test of the Dover. The then apostrophe Urbervilles. D'Urbervilles. So, and far from the middling crowd. Far from the, sorry, not middling, meddling crowd. So, Hardy's works, Thomas Hardy's works often indicating the conflict between what human desires and human social expectations, what human desires, right? So, those of the major Victorian writers and their works, and we understood that means how they contributed and what their contribution towards the Victorian literature when you talk about the characteristics, right? Then finally we come to the next one, which is called as the technological advancements and literacy, right? So during the 19th century, you would find out advancements in printing technology, right? So that is there, and the introduction of compulsory education that improved the literacy rates. So one is called as a development of or advancement in a technology. What kind of a technology? Printing technology. Second is called as introduction to the education, compulsory education that improved the literary rates during the 19th century. And this created nothing but a larger audience, right? So larger audience for what? Larger audience for literature, and allowed writers to reach readers from all walks of life. It means people who do not even know who Thomas Hardy and who means you can say that Lord Byron. So they come to know because of what? Because of the advancement of technology, printing technology, and also compulsory education, isn't it? So it reaches to everyone, and people start reading magazines, isn't it? So in that case, you would find out it reaches to a larger audience. So technological advancement and literacy is nothing but helpful to the romantic writers because they reach to larger audience, right? Then the next one is called as the growth of reading culture, and means people also have started a kind of a means habit of what? Reading culture, right? So they start reading. So accessible literature, right? So books become more affordable, and serialized novels in magazines gain popularity. You also find out one who writes any kind of serials. So sequels are coming out in the magazines, isn't it? So let's say that in today's day, if you like one of the movie very much, then you would find out two, three, four, five like that, right? So means I don't understand. Golmaal has not yet finished. Golmaal 1, Golmaal 2, Golmaal 3, Golmaal Returns, and Golmaal Fun Unlimited, isn't it? So, in that case, Puspa 2, isn't it? So, like that, means one is called as a books are affordable, right? Second is called as serialized novels in magazines, and those gain popularity and people start reading. So, second is called as a library. Facility of library. Public libraries provided free access to books and further encouraging reading among the working and middle classes, isn't it? So, and the third is called as a many writers came out, right? Not only male, also female women writers, isn't it? So the growing number of educated women, so they led to the rise of female authors like Charlotte Bronte, so George Eliot, and also Elizabeth Barrett, right? So Elizabeth Yeah, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, isn't it? Barrett Browning, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. So these are the women writers. So means they also start writing, and you read their books, isn't it? Their writings. So in that case, you would find out the growth of reading culture means abound. Then we talk about, yeah, uh, the themes and legacy of 19th century, right? What are the themes that we will discuss, and thereafter we'll end this, right? So the literature of the 19th century, when we talk about themes and legacy of 19th century literature, we can say that the literature of the 19th century is notable for its what? Depth, right? Deeper understanding, diversity, variety, and its impact, lasting influence, how long it influenced to the people, right? So, or influence to the writers of this period. So, the themes such as you can say tradition and progress, right? So, the tension between tradition and progress. Second is called as the impact of industrialization and urbanization, right? Impact. Third is called as the struggles of individuals against social norms, right? Fourth one is called as the beauty and the fragility of nature, and the fifth is called as the search of what, the you can say the search for personal identity and purpose, right? These are nothing but called as a five means themes that you would find out means notable in 19th century literature. Right. So, in that case, the works of 19th century British writers, they continue to inspire actually, continue to inspire readers and writers around the world, and their exploration of universal or universal things, so which is applicable to everywhere. Right. So, and their ability to capture or attract the spirit of their time. So, make their works, make their writings, make their numerous prose, poetry, right, stories. So timeless. Timeless means what called as a never-ending. The people read it forever. So from the imaginative landscapes of romantic poetry to the social critics of Victorian novels. So 19th century literature remains nothing but a strong one of English literary tradition, isn't it? Understood. So you find out the mind map here. So I give you the mind map. Just you need to go through those mind maps, and you explain on your own language. Right. I hope means you get a lot of information, and that can help you to elaborate your short and long type questions.
The question is
Mudabi.